Hello, this is a second follow-up video to talk more about just our general experiences here in Canada, what we like about it, what we don't, and more about that kind of stuff. If you haven't already seen the first video where we talk about the process of immigrating to Canada, the link to that is in the description, and you should probably watch that first. Okay, so as a recap, we moved from Boston, Massachusetts. I'd lived there for 12, 15 years, something like that. I've lived in lots of different places in the United States, California, New York, Oregon, New Hampshire, Arizona. But as far as Canada goes, we moved to Victoria, British Columbia. We'd never been to British Columbia before. We just packed up and moved. And I haven't, aside from kind of one weekend in Niagara Falls, I haven't really spent much time elsewhere in Canada. Oh, just remembered, I should have said in that video that all that other stuff that I said about immigrating to Canada applies to everywhere except for Quebec. Bummer, didn't say that. Okay. Okay, so that's the context. Boston to Victoria, British Columbia. And so if you're someone who says you feel like something is different, it could just be because you're moving to somewhere else that I have no experience with. But our experience here is that people here have been so nice, and not like fake nice, just sweet, generous, kind, everything you would ever want from neighbors, and from people you're trying to get to know and people you meet just at the checkout line of the grocery store. Everyone is just so kind and nice. Apparently, I've heard that the people in maritime provinces are even nicer than people in BC. I don't know how that's possible. Everyone here has just been so sweet. Um, and um, it's kind of just changed my own personal, like how I deal with people, because it's made me feel more comfortable being nicer and kinder to people and more friendly. Not just like you pass by somebody on walking by a stranger on the street and go, oh, top of the morning. Not like that kind of stuff, but like genuine, like supporting each other in your community kind of stuff. It's been amazing. When we moved here, we didn't know anybody, and so we knew that we had to kind of hit the ground running and go out and meet people. So my wife went to different parent groups and exercise groups, things like that. I joined some sports things, and some like techie group thing. And so I mean, you have to do a little bit of the work. You can't just expect everyone to show up at your door and want to be your friends, even though some people will literally show up at your door and ask to be friends. It's just people here just it's great. Um, Part of this experience could be that we were coming from Boston. I never would say that people in Boston are mean or not nice, but it's a big city. People are a little bit more closed off, um, and yeah, it's just harder. Maybe that's just what it is. It's harder to meet people in any big city. But Victoria, British Columbia, it's perfect size city for us. It's not like the crunched in masses that in bigger cities, but get the sense that we've traveled a lot in BC and kind of get the sense that this is just how it is in BC, at least. I don't know anything about the rest of Canada, but uh, Canada has a reputation for being nice. So maybe that means it holds true across the whole country. I would bet so. And I also just want to say that our experiences, we're Americans. Like culturally, our culture is just so similar to Canada, and the things that it's different, that's like you can laugh about and enjoy. Like, oh, you say pasta and we say pasta, that kind of stuff. I Anybody who's not coming from America, I could totally see how their experience would be very different and they wouldn't be quite as welcomed. I don't see any kind of anti-immigrantness stuff here. I feel like people would, it's not going to be terrible, but I also have to admit that being an American and privileged and white and all these things reflects my positive feelings towards what's been happening for us the past 7 years. Okay, so uh, the next thing I've missed on my list here is that British Columbia is stunningly beautiful. Um, like there's this hill that I drive down uh, most of the time to get down to my house after driving out of the city, and you just see these snow-capped mountains in the distance in front of an ocean, and it's just everywhere you go, it's amazingly beautiful. We traveled a lot in BC. BC has so many different, it's kind of the same genre a little bit, but everything has its own way of being just gorgeous. And there's so many places that are kept untouched for us to hike in, and they're really good hiking trails. Everybody here appreciates how beautiful it is. They take advantage of it. They're outside. They're at the beaches, and yeah, I just really appreciate that. Again, a very BC specific comment on that. Um, okay, so Canada is not perfect. I don't expect that you're going to come to this total utopia where everybody has everything figured out. But what I do really like about Canada is that the government is set up in such a way where the people who are elected to government can actually start solving the problems that the country has. Like like I'll talk more about the medical system issues here, but like they know that the medical system that there's problems, and they're trying things like it's a giant government. You can't just be like, I have an idea, let's do this, and snap, make your fingers. You have to plan, you have to figure out, it's a government, it's a big thing. But you can tell that they're doing things and they're trying to make things better. And if the people don't like what they're trying, they can vote in a new government, and that new government will come in and they get to do the things that they say that they're going to do. It's not like in the US where like the only way in the US that any progress can be made is if the president, the Senate, two-thirds of the Senate and Congress are all the same party, which is just an impossible thing, which means nothing ever gets done. And in like at a certain point, the judicial system could throw a wrench into anything what you're doing. So Republicans are kind of getting close to, they just get a few more Senate seats. But even like, yeah, but in Canada, it's just not how it works. The you vote for you never vote for the prime minister. You're just voting for which person in your riding or congressional district, if it's known in America, you want to go to parliament, and then whoever's party gets the most members of parliament, their leader becomes the prime minister. So everybody who's in like that party is in charge. They get to do things. You can't campaign and say I'm going to do a thing and then not do it. Or if you do, people get mad, and that's part of why people are mad. Got mad at Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party, is that he said that he was going to do some things, and then came in and be like, "Oh, actually, it's too hard to do those." It's like, shut up, you're in power. And when I'm saying critical things about Justin Trudeau, know that does not mean that I'm going to go vote for the Conservative Party. There's multiple parties in Canada. I will be voting for the more liberal New Democrats. And their political leader is a total badass. It would be amazing if he was prime minister, but it doesn't seem like they have enough support nationwide to do that. Okay, so it's not perfect, but I love reading the news in Canada. It's like today, government decided this was a problem and did this thing to make it not a problem, attempt to make it not a problem. We talked to a person who was hoping that they wouldn't do this thing. And this person has said, quote, I don't like that they did this thing, but we'll give it a try. Like that's generally what all the news articles are about. And it's adorable. I love it. Again, my perspective, like I'm coming from America, I was just so dissatisfied and so upset about everything that I just have such rose-colored glasses when I read all these things, rose-tinted, whatever. And so, but definitely the people in Canada aren't all like, hooray for the government, like I am. But even, yeah, I really like the system that's here, and that's the Canadian fully the federal Canadian system. It's kind of repeated in British Columbia, so it's very similar to how it works in British Columbia. I don't know how the provincial government system in other provinces. Okay, so again, the sense of community. You can tell that it's a focus of the people and a focus of the government. In Boston, There were like I was into playing volleyball, and I just wanted to join like really casual volleyball things. And it's like I'm in Massachusetts, the Newton, Massachusetts, the highest like per capita income city of all of Massachusetts, and they could like barely scrounge together this like dilapidated gym to play volleyball in. But here, there's these every city or collection of cities has these gorgeous rec centers. The government has spent tons of money into building these recreation centers um, that have just amazing pools. Like they're like not just a rectangle of water, but they like go all out creating these amazing pool systems with lazy rivers and some have like these wave generators and like little kids areas. It's like the kind of stuff you would see at theme parks. And like, oh, how do you do it? Do you have to have like a couple $100 membership to the rec center? No, you just show up and you're like, here's literally $6. Can I swim here? And they're like, sure, and that's all. So they invest in the community. Like again, and I think back to Massachusetts, there I can remember one place that had the kind of that kind of facility, and it was like a $300 a month um, like recreation center that you had to get a membership to. So I just absolutely love the rec centers and just that whole idea of yeah, the government's paying for this. You're showing up, you're paying $6. That's doing a little bit to help, but I'm sure those $6 are not funding that entire rec center. Everyone is funding that entire rec center through their tax dollars. Um, there's like playgrounds, so many playgrounds. Obviously, there's playgrounds in the United States, but I just every it's just all over the place. So that every house, every community has a playground, multiple playgrounds, and walking distance to them. They're generally well maintained. There's a couple of them that I know about that are pretty. They're showing their age, but then it seems like every time I go up, uh, those ones they eventually the city knows about that. They replace them. They're on a rotation or whatever. And so there's just that investment in those communities. The schools are public places. I went to San Diego a couple years ago, and the schools are enclosed in fences because of I suppose worries about gun violence. And so you get a situation where you have one playground on the inside of the fence for the school kids to play with, and another playground on the outside of the fence for the community to play with. Both playgrounds were in disarray. Imagine if you had just one playground that you had to fund and build. It could be nicer. It's a community space. People here are just I live next to a school, and just the community is always at that school playground playing. It's just part of life here. Again, maybe other places in the United States, it's very similar. So this could just be my experience from the few places in the United States I go. And just generally people are outdoors enjoying each other and the outdoors. We feel like whenever we go to the United States, we just see that there's just less people on the streets because I think that they're inside doing inside things. And we just love how much Canada loves being outdoors. Again, maybe this isn't a Canadian thing, maybe it's a British Columbian thing because of just how beautiful it is here and how much you want to be outdoors. Okay, so what's not great? Medical system, not great. We it's set up so that everything is equal for everyone. You cannot buy your way into having more healthcare, which is not great for us in a way because we have the financial means to buy our way into more healthcare. But it's great for everybody for it to be equal. But that does mean that everybody has an equal share at family doctors, and there's not enough to go around. So you basically just put your name on a wait list and you hope that you get a family doctor. We had our name on a wait list for a couple of years. Technically, we have a family doctor. It's through a medical clinic in town. Whenever we call them, we say we have a problem. They go, great. How about 3 weeks? You can come in. We're like, no, because we've got a problem now. Like, so it's like only like minor things like I got this mole I want to get checked out. I guess I could call them and wait 3 weeks for that. But when there's something wrong, you don't. We just know that we don't call that doctor's office. We call a walk-in clinic. You cannot technically walk in. You have to call at 8:30 in the morning along with everybody else in that general area who also has a problem, and you have to just battle through their phone system and get an appointment. When we do get an appointment, we go in to a beautiful facility with the best doctors. They're so sweet. They're so kind. Whenever we actually need, when we get the medical care, it's fantastic. And when there's something that is seriously wrong, like obviously the emergency, you go to the emergency room, it's going to be great. You're not going to have to wait. We had a friend who had a giant reaction to wasp stings. He got seen right away. They bypassed him through all the people who were waiting with whatever other things. So we do know that people that if there's something wrong, we're going to be taken care of. But if you have some sort of like medical condition where it's just like this chronic thing where you just need tons of care, or if you have a child that's like that, then I don't know, you might be frustrated to do some checking on that. The schools here, I was expecting to be blown away by the schools. I have not been blown away by the schools. They're fine. They seem to be affected by a lot of the same things I experienced in the US, where the teachers union have just got they're in charge. You can't get rid of teachers. You can't tell them they're doing a bad thing. Uh, I'm talking in total extremes here, but yeah, so kind of not pleased with that. The schools, the whole education system seems to be more geared towards creating good members of the community and not that next person who's going to figure out what dark matter is. Which is kind of like, don't we need more of those like high achieving people to kids to like go on and be like the doctors and the high skilled people that we need, that the Canada is saying in their immigration world that they need to be coming into the country? What if we made them here? And so maybe they're doing that. We've only been through the educational system for like 3 years now, so we're probably biased, but that's just kind of been a little bit of our experience. So there's 1 week of the year which I am not the happiest to be Canadian, and that is late April, I guess the early April, when my accountant tells me how much I have to pay in taxes, or how much I should have been paying. I have to pay quarterly, and I always get it wrong. But it's like, and then they tell me, oh, you owe a bunch more. So basically, what I'm saying is, it's high taxes. You pay a lot in taxes. All these things cost money, and yep, you pay taxes, and it sucks. And I bite the bullet, and I e-transfer the money, and blah, for a few days. And then I go on living my fantastic Canadian life, enjoying my fantastic Canadian recreation centers and my paved roads and all the things. Okay. So, yes, high taxes. It's a thing for sure. Like sales taxes, high. Property taxes, high. I wouldn't say like completely bonkers high. Like you imagine, like, how would I ever be able to afford this? Like, I know people are struggling. I'm very fortunate that I am not in a struggling position, but I I still think that you can make it work. Obviously, people are making it work. There's millions of people here, and we're not all in poverty. Okay, you still have to file your taxes in the US. I covered this on the other video, but to do so, I tried doing it through like H&R Block, and it says, or TurboTax or whatever, and those things say that you can file from living abroad, but they get it all wrong. And so you just have to go find a specialized accountant that can file both your Canadian and US taxes. And so that's cost me like 1,200, 1,000 US a year. And just kind of like more about the money stuff. The things are like cell phones more expensive, internet more expensive, not 4 or 5 times amount more expensive, but like 50% more expensive. So yeah, more money, and your salaries typically are not going. You don't make up for it in your salary. It seems like you get paid less in Canada. So if your big concern is how do I make lots and lots of money, you should probably stay in the US. But if your big concern is how do I have family where my children go to school and don't have to worry about getting shot, um, and just living in a place where you have a great community around you, then you should come to Canada. And the last two things I'll say is that the two worst things about Canada are this: no Target, no Trader Joe's. Canada has a kind of Target called Canadian Tire, which is like a tire store that ended up selling more and more things, and now they sell everything. So, okay, that's cute. It's called Canadian Tire. And you go in, you're like, oh, this is the Target. And then you look around, and you're like, wait, but where are all the cool things that Target has? You just have like stuff that I don't want, but I guess I could buy it. So we miss Target, and there's nothing like Trader Joe's here, and it sucks. So when we go back to the US, we stock up as much as we can there, and that seems to be a very Canadian thing to do. Okay, uh, that's all I can think of to say about Canada. We just absolutely love it here. We're so thankful, and I'm happy to answer any other questions people have about Canada or specifically my community in BC here if you ask it in the discussion. Okay, thanks. Bye.